Now, in this video, we'll see the GST exemption for the education service. Basically, this exemption is available to the education institute. The entry number 66 of notification number 12/2017 deals with education GST exemption for the education institute. There are two parts to this entry number 66. One is the output side. That is, the education institute provide the education service and the exemption is available. And second is the input side. That is, the services received by the education institute from other parties. There also the exemption is available. This is the only exemption entry which provide the exemption not only at the output side but even at the input side also. Okay. Let's see in detail the exemption for the education institute. Notification provides that first we will see the output side. The education institute provides service to its students, faculty and staff are exempt. So it is not only students, faculty and staff is also included. Then there is this is A, then there is a AA. By education institute by way of a conduct of entrance exam against a consideration in the form of entrance fee. What is the reason for the separate clause for entrance exam? Because when the education institute conduct entrance exam, they are not the students of the education institute. Second argument is that there is no education service given. Your education institute check the aptitude of that candidate. Only after that candidate pass the entrance exam, then only he is eligible to become a student of that education institute. To avoid this litigation, government in the notification itself provided that the entrance fees is also exempt. This is a very welcome step. Government has avoided the litigation on the entrance fee. Entrance fee collected by the education institute is also specifically provided as exemption under entry number 66 clause AA. Okay. Okay. Let's see next. See, basically GST is a transaction level tax. It is not like Income Tax Act that for ACZ unit a benefit is available of income exempt for 5 years. The exemption is at transaction level. The tax is also at the transaction level. At each transaction you have to see whether it is chargeable to tax or exempt. If chargeable to tax, at what rate, then pay the tax, report the transaction in the GSTR 1, pay the tax in GSTR 3B, take the input tax credit, etc. However, this exemption notification is like a person driven. That is, the exemption is available to the education institute for all its activities. It is not activity driven. It is not a transaction level exemption. You will analyze this. See, we need to study not for clearing the exam, not for passing the paper only, but for the understanding and carry the responsibility with the knowledge. Correct? Correct. Let's see. There is a circular number 85 in 2019 which provides that a food provided by the education institute to its student, faculty, staff is exempt. Generally, government provide a midday meal, etc. That is also exempt. Okay. Okay. Then there is another circular number 177 in 2022 which provides that it is not only the admission fee or the tuition fee of the education institute is exempt, but all types of fees collected by that education institute is exempt. For example, computer fee, extracurricular activities fee, issue of duplicate I-card fees, issue of that what is that called bona fide certificate, that is also exempt. Library fee, hostel fee, workshop fees, conference fees, all types of fees collected by the education institute from its students are exempt. It is not only admission or the tuition fee, all types of fees. Okay, that's why I mentioned that this is not a transaction level exemption. It is a exemption available to the education institute. So all its activities are exempt. Let's see now the input side. But before going into the input side, it's very important to understand what is education institute. Government has divided the education institute on the basis of the curriculum or the courses that are offered by the education institute. It is divided into three parts. First part is a preschool education up to HSC. First link. Okay. Then the education institute which provide a qualification recognized by the law. What it means? Basically colleges which are providing the degree affiliated to university. University is registered under UGC, etc. ICAI is covered by the second entry. ICSI is covered by the second entry. Okay? Okay. Now the last type of education institute is approved vocational courses. What it means is ITI, basically, as an example. Okay. Now, on the basis of these three types of education institute, the input services received are also exempt. Why basically the government has given that the input services are also exempt is that when we are saying that the output side of the education institute is exempt, then on the input side when there are taxes levied by the various service provider, the education institute can't take ITC because its output side is exempt. Therefore, it becomes a cost. Eventually, they will collect that cost from the students. Therefore, government has given a benefit of exemption for the input services received by the education institute also. Okay? Okay. Let's see what are the input services of the education institute are exempt. The first category is preschool up to HSC. The transport facility, that is the transportation to students, faculty, staff. It means what? There is a transport service provider who entered into contract with the education institute. When he will raise the invoice on the education institute, that transport service provider will not levy any GST. Okay. This exemption is available only when education institute collect transportation fees and the transport service provider gives the invoice to education institute. If parents are directly paying to the bus service provider, then this benefit is not available. Then education institute is not a part of the contract. Therefore, the exemption is not available. The key point, understand. The next is catering including midday that we have saw in a circular number 177 and 85. Then the security, clinic, housekeeping services performed in such education institute. That is also exempt. Which are these? Security, clinic, housekeeping services. So when they provide the service to the education institute, they will not charge any GST on the invoice. Please note that this does not include manpower supply. What is include? Security, cleaning, housekeeping. These three types of services to whom? Preschool up to HSC. Okay. Then service relating to admission or conduct of examination. We are having a separate slide on this point, that the exemption is available for the conduct of examination. So basically question paper received, evaluation and issue of admit card and many other things, the exemption is available. So though the service provider should not levy any GST on that invoice when the service is rendered to preschool up to HSC. Then the second part of the education institute is a college which provide the degree, approved degree, correct? The second leg we have saw, which basically cover colleges, ICI, ICSI, which uh, uh, do the subscription for the online journal. That service is exempt. Okay? Okay. Let's go to the next, that admission or examination. Service related to the admission or examination. The input service that are received by the education institute, like printing of admit card, printing of exam forms, question papers, evaluation of answer book, on if there is online exam, then development of that web page. All these input services are exempt. Okay, so the service provider will not levy any GST when that service provider raise the invoice on the education institute. It is for preschool up to HSC. Remember this. Let's go to the next. See what is provided in notification number 66, that the education service the education institute provide service to students, faculty, staff. Correct? So suppose there is a education institute which provides its space on a rent for the bank to open its extension center or ATM within the premises, given its place to the canteen service provider to have a canteen in within their premises, giving its space on a rent for the post office, etc. So all these are what? A basic facility given by the education institute to its students, faculty and staff. So the rent collected by the education institute from that bank, from that canteen service provider or from that post office is also exempt. Okay, that's why I'm again repeating that this exemption entry is person driven and not activity driven. Okay, let's see next. Affiliation services, that are also exempt. What is basically affiliation service? Affiliation service is basically the fees paid by the education institute to university to get itself affiliated to that university. In turn, what university is doing? They are doing the examination of that education, evaluation of that education institute, whether the proper infrastructure is available, faculty, staff, liquidity, whether everything is available according to the standard. If yes, then they are allowed to get it affiliated with that university. Then university decide the syllabus, conduct the exam, award the degree. So the question comes is that whether this fees is relating to the education. Can we say that this is also exempt under entry number 66? There is a case of Goa University in Bombay High Court where a Bombay High Court laid down that affiliation fees is a statutory fees. It is not a consideration for a contractual obligation. University deciding the syllabus, conducting the exam, awarding the degree is an integral part of the education system. Therefore, affiliation services or affiliation fees paid by the education institute, collected from the students, paid to university is also exempt. Okay.